Hello, I'm Libby Langley. This is another episode of my Life in Business podcast. Thank you for joining me again today. Love having you here. Love talking to you. Love sharing the message. Love being in your ears. So let's talk today about confidence, or more importantly, what happens when you lose it, right? What do you do when you lose confidence? It's an absolute shitter, right? It's just so awful. And it happens to all of us. Absolutely happens to all of us. I think it's probably more prevalent in women, but I don't know that for an actual fact. But I would put a small amount of money on the fact that it's more prevalent in women, that we struggle with this and we lose our confidence in ourselves and kind of in our life, in our work. Sucks. But today I'm going to give you some practical things to do for when the old confidence drop happens. Oh, I don't know how to get rid of it, right? I can only give you steps out. I can't give you a magic cure, but there's certainly some things that are going to be really, really helpful for you. So why do we think that we lose confidence? I mean, I think it's probably to do with quite a lot of things. And, I can only speak from being a woman, but I imagine some of this certainly resonates with you guys who are listening. But there's lots of reasons we lose confidence. There's kind of the hormonal stuff, age, menopause, I don't know, maybe kids leaving home, having children, that all those kind of things that we deal with as women. But then there's the other side of stuff, like the business side of stuff, such as a launch not going quite according to plan. I mean, that can really suck, right? And that can really absolutely knock all of your stuffing out, because you prep and you plan and you tell people about this amazing new thing that you've created because you've done your market research and it's the thing that people want. And then it's like, oh shit, why didn't anyone buy it? Or why didn't as many people as I hoped buy it? And that can be a real kicker, because it makes you question like who you are in business and where you're going in business and what you do in business. And that's incredibly tough, particularly if you've got all the other like hormonal stuff going on too, right? But first off to say, just everything that kind of doesn't go according to plan isn't a personal reflection on you 99% of the time, right? If you make an enormous cock up, then perhaps take some responsibility there and fix that. But what I mean is that there are so many other factors in every single thing that happens. Not to blame other factors, right? This is not to apportion blame, because we need to take responsibility for things. But it's not a reflection on you as a human being. That's kind of what I'm saying here. It's not, your worth is not defined by how a launch goes at all. It may be that there's some tech issues for which you can fix for next time, but it might be that somebody else is doing a big launch, or it's the school holidays, or it's raining, or Instagram's changed its algorithm so people aren't seeing stuff. There's loads of stuff, not to apportion blame to those things, but just to take responsibility away from you thinking that you're a terrible person because somebody hasn't bought what you put out there. That just isn't true, right? Just isn't true. I am pretty damn sure that you're not a terrible person and you're an extremely nice person. So let's kind of take that away completely. And then, because what happens is imposter syndrome, right? Imposter syndrome comes in, it hooks its little claws in, and it makes it really difficult to get out of this lack of confidence kind of funk that can happen. And the funk can kill a business, right? For sure. And that is absolutely what we do not ever want to happen. The only reason you're going to stop doing your business is because you make that conscious decision that you don't want to do it anymore, or you want to do something different. And that is fine. If it's a conscious decision, that is fine. If it comes from a lack of confidence because you think you're just rubbish at everything, not good enough. Not acceptable, right? Not acceptable, because it's not based on the truth. and the truth is what we want, and the truth and integrity and honesty and all of this, that's what we want in business, right? Not, oh, everybody hates me, so I'm not going to do this anymore. Not true. Okay. I think I'm trying to think of like the times that I've lost confidence. I mean, it happens on a daily basis. Okay? I mean, my confidence is like woo, and then it's like, oh no, what was I even thinking? You know, it's a roller coaster. One of the reasons I have a roller coaster tattooed on the inside of my arm, because that's just kind of what life, genuinely what life is like. But what I'm not talking about these little like daily doubts. What I'm talking about is the bigger picture. So I certainly, over my years in business, there have been times where I've lost complete confidence. I used to do a lot of work for a Chamber of Commerce. Used to do a lot of delivery of training for them, and it was a big chunk of my income for a while. A couple of years or so, I can't remember. So it made a big difference. And I think the project, I'm trying to remember the details, but I think the project that level of funding came to an end. And then a while later, I can't remember any of these time frames because it's years ago, but that they retendered, right? Got another level of funding and retendered. And I kind of thought that I would get it because I'd done it before and done it successfully, always 5-star reviews. I don't know, hundreds of people came through the program that they offered as part of this funding. And I didn't get it. And the person that I'd shared, we'd kind of co-delivered. So I delivered some, he delivered others, but the same course. He got it again and I didn't. And it was really difficult. And that was a real knock to my confidence because I didn't understand why. I was I'm really good at teaching, right? I know that. I've done it a lot. I've always got good feedback. I engage with people really well and I really like it. And so there was no reason for me to not get this gig again. And I knew that the other person who was delivering was not great on timekeeping and focused on certain things that, I don't even exist in the online world. And I thought that they probably wouldn't have longevity. Therefore, I skipped over those bits. We have very different kind of styles and stuff. Great bloke though. So there was confusion, right? There was confusion. And I think when there is confusion, that's where the lack of confidence can come, because the only logical explanation for it is that they don't like you, right? Because on paper, brilliant. So why did that not get renewed? And it's really difficult. And it did really, really knock my confidence. I think maybe this was 2017. I'm trying to remember. I think it was 2017. And I ended up kind of actually taking a lot of time off. We lived at the time in a really inexpensive house. And so, money wasn't the same. There wasn't the same pressure. So I took a lot of time off and took a back seat. And what I actually ended up doing is that I remember putting out a post on social media that was saying, right, I'm tired of all this. I think I might get a job. And it was on my own personal Facebook, this was. And it was one of my most responded to Facebook posts. And I ended up getting 2 contracts, which was great. So I still worked for myself, and I worked with one company on their Facebook ads. Did that for a couple of years, I think. And another company on their social media. I did training and consultancy for this company for a couple of years. And I didn't do much else. I did ad hoc workshops, and I did ad hoc kind of consultancy and strategy on business strategy. Strategy on business strategy? Yeah. Okay. I was more coherent then doing that than I am trying to explain it. And that, so, financially kind of that was all great, because these were all quite lucrative contracts that I got. And there was lots of kind of this ad hoc work coming in too with small business owners. but yeah, there was definitely a massive knock to my confidence, and it's only now I can kind of look back and think that really derailed me, because I was surprised, and I didn't know the reason why. So I sort of had a couple of years off, and I mean I didn't, because I was working and I was earning plenty of money, but I had a couple of years off from marketing myself, and that's the big thing. And for me, certainly, when my confidence is knocked, I retreat, right? I'm an introvert. I now know I'm autistic ADHD. So, that has the other connotations of RSD, the rejection sensitive dysphoria, where you think the whole world is against you, even though logically you know that they're not. It's difficult to kind of balance that, but I know I have a better understanding that since my diagnosis in 2023. And so it has this kind of compound effect, and I know that when my confidence has been knocked for whatever reason, or when I'm frightened that it might be knocked, so like future worrying, I retreat. And I find it really hard to market myself. I find it hard to turn up on social media. My weekly emails, I can still do. And my weekly emails are great. I don't know if you get them or not, but if you don't, go to libbylangley.com/email and sign up for the weekly emails, because what I share in there is sometimes related to the podcast, and sometimes is business lessons, but they're always kind of things that are worth you reading. And I send out a weekly email every Thursday at 7 a.m. UK time, regular as clockwork. And that's one thing that never diminishes, it never stops, right? So these weekly emails always come out, and there's always something really useful in there for you. Plus you get to hear about like the new cool stuff that I'm doing and delivering, because it's a real time thing. And another thing that doesn't dip is this podcast. So I missed 1 week. I was going to take a break from it last summer, summer 2023, because I'd not long been diagnosed and my head was all over the shop, and it was kind of quite a difficult time of knowing what I was doing in my business and where things were going. And so I thought, look, I need to take a bit of a break from my podcast, because I need to just get my shit together and get my head together and get my confidence back, right? My confidence in myself back. And so I only ended up actually missing 1 week, because they're recorded in advance. I'm often 2-3 weeks in advance, sometimes not that far, but never more than that. But a lot can happen in that time. I process things very quickly. I change my dips come up, whatever was what I'm trying to say. When I'm in a dip, I come out of it very often, very, very quickly. And so sort of saying something like that is like, by the time I actually get to it, it's like, oh no, I don't feel like that anymore. So I'm very good at getting myself out of these kind of situations. So weekly email note always happens if you want them, libbylangley.com/email. And the podcast is regular, but the social media, which is like the only other thing kind of, that suffers. And that's where I struggle to remain consistent. And I share all this for you with absolute open honesty and vulnerability, because it will help you, right? It will help you. There's people that we connect with and we follow and we engage with, and we assume that everything is amazing and they never struggle, and that's just not true. And I share with you that I say open and honestly, vulnerably, that isn't true for me either. There is a real reason I had a roller coaster tattooed on my arm. I love them. They're like life for me, but also that it represents for me that it's okay to be like that, to sometimes think, to sometimes fly high, and sometimes question what the hell are you doing, right? It's normal. It's absolutely normal. And don't let anyone tell you anything else. I want to kind of validate those feelings if you feel them too. So the kind of the confidence for me comes from within. And I know it's like, of course it does, but it really does. And it comes from having that unwavering understanding that what you're doing is the right thing. And I don't mean in the way that you're delivering your program or whatever, right, necessarily, because that can change. But knowing that you're on the right path and you're doing the right thing. And it's difficult for me to say stuff like this sometimes because it sounds really woo, and I'm not a woo person. I'm a very practical person, but I believe in the power of self. If that's not too woo a route to go down, you've got to believe in yourself, and you've got to know that inside yourself is satisfied, and that what you're doing externally is right for inside you. Yeah, that's all really, really important to me and in business. So ways to kind of get your confidence back, because you're the only one that can do it, really. I mean, you can step away from your business for the day, like come on one of my mastermind days that I run, that kind of thing. That gives you a boost of confidence. If you've not heard about the mastermind days, they're at my house in Chesterfield in Derbyshire, and they are full days out of your business, very small group of business owners, and you can come feeling as just absolute rock bottom and go away feeling on top of the world, because we talk about things, we pick it all apart and we put it all back together in a really practical and action step based way. And there's hugs and there's tea and there's sandwiches. So that's libbylangley.com/mastermind if you want to find out about that. But message me if you've got any questions or that sounds kind of interesting to you. So there's like practical things that you can do there in terms of getting support externally, which is really, really helpful. But you've got to work on the inside stuff, and other people can help you, right? That's for sure. That's one of the things that we talk about on my mastermind days, and it's the kind of stuff that I support my clients on as well. But this is about you going into yourself and thinking, what do I really want to do? How do I really want to help people? What do I really care about? What's my big wish? What's my vision? What's my goal? What gets me fired up? And also, what don't I give two shits about that I am doing today and this week and this month? And if you can pick out 1 or 2 or 10 things that you don't care about, you need to change that. Right? You need to change that. If it feels like pulling teeth, then it's not. We don't want that in your business, right? There's always things that you don't enjoy in your business. Tasks that you can outsource, that you can pay someone else to do, that you can get a team member in to do. Or stop doing. Not necessarily. There's always kind of little things that you don't like as much. But if your overall feeling in your business is, this is like pulling teeth, something doesn't sit right, okay? Something doesn't sit right. So you need to go back to basics there and think about what really matters to you, what your vision is, what your mission is, what you want to achieve in life, right? And how can your business kind of facilitate that? And then you need to write a plan. Let's get practical on this. Write a plan of what you actually want to do and you actually want to achieve. And just by writing stuff down, it's going to help you. It's going to help you feel more open to the possibilities. And it's also going to help you with your confidence, because everything that you write down in that plan is stuff that you really care about and stuff that you really want to do. And if you're like, it ain't got no place in your plan, right? Take it off, rub it out. I don't know, do people rub things out still? I used to really like, when I was at school, this does absolutely show my age, but rubbers, like erasers, rubbers were really, people used to collect them and used to get loads of scented ones, and there were ones that that kind of looked like lipsticks, I suppose. And I've just thought of the funniest thing, and this is a huge digression, but it's just when we were kids at primary school, I went to a tiny village primary school, and I think at its busiest, the school had like 60 kids. And it got so busy that we had to have an extra class. There were only 4 classes to cover the entire, I don't know what, you start at 4 or 5 and you leave at 11, 10, 11. So yeah, it was a really tiny village school. So everybody knew everybody else, and it was just the best years ever. And one year for April Fool's Day, we switched the chalk, because that's how old I am, out for one of these scented rubbers that kind of looked like a lipstick. And I still remember how funny it was when the teacher tried to write on the board with this. Oh, bants when you're a 6-year-old. But yeah, it was great. So anyway, why was I talking about rubbers? I have no idea. Oh no, because rubbing something out, if it doesn't serve you, right? Cross it out, rub it out, get rid of it. You do not need that in your business, right? If it makes you feel crappy, get rid of it. So that's on your plan. You write this plan. And then the third step, right? First step is to go back to basics and look inside yourself and decide what you want to do. The second step is to write a plan, and write an honest and constructive plan that is things that light you up only. And then the third thing is to invest in support, right? Is to talk this through with someone else. Because when your confidence is low, oh my God, you're going to get lost in your own head. Oh my God, right? You're going to go round in circles with self-doubt and criticism, and I can't be visible because, oh, everybody hates, this, right? This is real. This is a real thing that happens. So you need to invest in some support. And yes, you can talk to your friends, for sure, but I bet they don't really understand what you're talking about when it comes to your business. So talk to a business buddy, do a reciprocal session where they get stuff off their chest for half an hour and you get stuff off your chest for half an hour, right? Or actually monetarily invest in something. So have some therapy. If there's reason for this, talk to a therapist and talk about what's going on. I don't know what happened in your past that kind of comes up and triggers you and makes you feel bad. I had a really cool session a few weeks ago called Access Bars. I'd never heard of it before. And I went to the session not even knowing what was going to happen. But, I like to experiment with kind of stuff. And Access Bars is basically they just put their hands on your heads. Your head, hands on your head. And I don't know, it was really good. And it's the first time ever that my head was quiet afterwards, which is just insane. And if you have, if you're neurodivergent then, like me, you will understand what I mean about a noisy head. My head was quiet after this, so that was really cool. So find, registered practitioner for that. Go have some of that. Things like EFT are really helpful. I've been having EFT for 2 or 3 years now, regular sessions with Jackie Acree. I've talked about her a lot. And that's really good. And then coaching, right? I've already said about my mastermind days. That stuff really helps. But I had a session. I did a mini mastermind recently, a complimentary one for 5 people, and that 90-minute session. And then we had follow-up sessions after that. And one of the people in the follow-up session, she said, "You're like a therapist, because I can just talk about my business and talk about my work and talk about what not sitting right. And you listen and you nod, and then you help me. You not only kind of take the pressure off, but you come back with practical solutions and different ways of looking at things that I hadn't thought about before." And I think that's what I love so much about my job, right? About what I do in my business, is being able to reframe things for people. And I know that this happens during this podcast as well, because and in my book, because I've had so much feedback about that. But it is just somebody else not saying, "Oh, well, I think you should do it like this." It's not that. It's just reflecting things back to you and helping you to see things in a slightly different way, or seeing kind of what the trigger is. Like for me, not getting that contract renewed, that was, obviously it still bothers me, right? Or I wouldn't be talking about it now. I think that was in 2017, long time ago. So this stuff hangs around with us and can impact us. But by talking to someone or working with a coach, like me, who has kind of been there and experienced it and knows ways to get out of it and knows ways to look at things differently, and helping you to look at things differently, absolutely worth its weight in gold, right? For sure. And this is the reason that I continue to have all these treatments and therapies and stuff, and work with a business coach myself. I'm a business coach who has a business coach, and my butt gets kicked, right? And I need that sometimes, and I need that when I'm in a wallow and in a place where why can't I just talk about this on social media? Why can't I just tell people about this new group pathway that I'm running? Why can't I just talk to people about this? And then kind of unpicking what that lack of confidence and what that fear is really about. And it's so powerful. And like I say, I'm not a woo person, but I firmly believe that how we feel inside is what we project. And so feeling absolutely on point with not necessarily like, oh, I'm so confident, I'm just gonna, whatever. I'm never gonna be that person. I'm always going to kind of question myself, even though I'm really comfortable with talking on stage, even though I do a weekly podcast, even, all that stuff. I'm at my happiest when it's just me and my cat and my husband and like watching the telly, that's when I'm really, truly happy. But I know in myself that what I put out there and what I help people with really matters and really makes a difference. And I care about it. Yeah, I care about people having the confidence to grow their business. It really matters to me, because the more people that do that, the more we're going to change the world. And that matters to me a lot. So I want you to reflect after listening to this today, what is it, where are you sitting with things, and what is it that you can look at in yourself that will help you harness this confidence? And please do tell me, please do talk to me, and let's start a dialogue about this, and maybe I can help you some more. It would be great. So thank you ever so much for listening. A couple of things I mentioned was my mastermind days if you're in the UK, libbylangley.com/mastermind, and get my weekly emails, libbylangley.com/email. Both those things are things that will be helpful to you. So thanks ever so much for joining me today. It is always an absolute pleasure, and I really say that from my heart. So I'll see you next week on another episode of Life in Business. See ya. Bye.